Hey folks, welcome back. And if you're new to the channel, welcome on board. I'm very happy that you've managed to find my little corner of the internet. So if you enjoy art and if you like watching art being made, or maybe want to be inspired, or maybe want to share your thoughts about art and process and everything that has to do with it, do hit that like and potentially also that subscribe button, because I am making videos like this every week. And saying that, videos like this every week, for the last couple of weeks I've been drawing a lot of cats, and for the next couple of weeks, all the way up until probably this summer, I will most likely be making nothing but cats, because that is a very big commission that I'm working on. So in today's video, I thought, you know what, let's do something a little bit different, because otherwise you'd be, looking at cats while listening to me jabber on about, things related to art. So for today's episode, I invited a good buddy of mine who is also an artist and also an author, and we have worked together many times. So M.K. Gibson is on board for this episode, and we'll be talking about storytelling, about art as work, as a job. So welcome back to another Butcher Shop. Okay, so I've already introduced you as M.K. Gibson, but I don't think I've ever called you Mike or Michael. So most people just call you Gib or Gibby.
I prefer that they do, actually.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I mean, is this the beginning of the show? Is this your professional introduction? Like we had hi, not welcome?
Yeah, well, this is a little thing that I wrote down, because, nobody calls you by your real name. Everybody just calls you Gib. And it was gonna be my very smooth introduction into asking, tell us a little bit about yourself, and why it makes total sense that I invited you into the Butcher Shop to come and chat about art. But you ruined it, so.
Yep, M.K. Gibson, and everybody just calls me Gib or Gibby. Why am I here? Well, because you needed a guest, and you said, hey, I need to do a guest for here, so just make some shit up and be here. No. No, like I said, I'm M.K. Gibson, Gib or Gibby, please. I've been writing all my life, but I've been I first got published in 2016. I'm a novelist. I'm an amateur author. Excuse me, I'm an amateur author. Sometimes I feel like that.
You're an amateur, just full
I'm
stop.
I'm an amateur artist as well, digital artist. I guess semi-pro. I have been paid for my work, so I guess I count as semi-pro at that point.
This is true.
I've been doing that for a number of years too. Sandy's been one of my mentors and guides in this process, and I like to think that sometimes when she's working on her story, I give her some tips and tricks on how to write a better tale. So we've been working together for at least 3 years now. So
is it only 3?
I think so. I'd have to go back and look at the things, but I think it might have been 2022, so this might be year 4. I'd have to go double check.
Yeah, but I also remember that when we knew each other for a year, I already thought it was 3 years. So
oh, it was 9 years, yeah.
So yeah,
right.
We've known each other for a while, and we've worked on a couple of projects together. We did, of course, the Illustrated Technomancer, which was your book with my illustrations. I love that project, and I am still sort of waiting for a moment where I actually have time to start working on book 2 and 3. But yeah.
Are you sure? Because you're not just going to bump me again.
I know, right? So I crossed some stuff off my Trello board, because that's how we do this as professional artists. And you moved up again, so shit is getting closer.
Ooh. All right, now, unfortunately, my cat decided he's going to jump on the table. So if you hear some cat noises, I told everybody in the family to leave me alone. The cats do not listen to my...
and neither does my dog. So at some point you will probably hear, sad dog noises or whatever. Or my doorbell might actually even ring because the mailman is coming. So we'll see what it is.
I have the spot next to my work desk down in my basement / office, that I have an extra chair sitting next to my desk in case my wife comes by to sit down and talk to me or something like that. But the cats use it all the time. I have 2 cats right now that are fighting over this chair, and that's just, so if you hear some cat noises, that's what's going on. All right. Oh, you just bullied your brother away, didn't you? Well, good job. All right.
Cats be cats. Speaking of
Casper
cats, I
cat.
mean, we are actually looking at it. Did I actually hit that play thing? Did I hit the play button in the? No, I did not.
You didn't actually.
You
You
know
did
what?
not. You didn't
let me
at
play
all.
back that stuff a little bit. There we go. So we're looking at cats.
That was a fast jump. Okay, I'm smelling bullshit here because you went from like 2 lines to like a half-finished sketch. So like, you're not gonna stop your AI detractors now with that kind of bullshit. So.
I hate you so much for doing this.
Hey, sorry, man. You wanted me on the. You know what you got.
I know, and here I thought maybe this mature kid grew up and was gonna be serious for just once, but no.
No. I do want to make good copy though. No, I mean, obviously, I would love watching your hands work because I remember when I was arguing about like when you were doing some of your videos, like no, start from the beginning, show the actual line work, not for the AI concept, but for people like me who like I learned to draw by doing. And unfortunately, every time I was in an art class in school or high school or like that, I just wanted to like smother the art instructor with something heavy, I just, because I'm tired of like, don't tell me to rip a magazine in half and like draw the other half of the magazine. That's so dumb. Don't tell me to do like these lines and do these perspective things. I know that's part of the training, but there's a level of like this kind of bull crap, like just because this is how you were taught, you should teach everybody else style of drawing that. Let me see a hand move, because most of us, surprise, in the art world are visually based. So if I can watch a hand move and I watch how they do something, like, oh, I can mimic that, and then once I start mimicking it, then I can put my own stink on it. I can put my little flair. I can, but that's what art is. We're always being influenced by other people's styles, and then you're like, well, this is how I want to do it, or how I want to add to it. But it starts with watching the bloody hand move and how they go from like page to line to design, And so, yeah, that's why I love watching these kind of videos where I can see the hand moving and like bringing it all to life.
And it's funny because the reason that I've not done that for a very long time is because I just thought that part of the process is just not interesting. The biggest difference is when you go from a white canvas with maybe a little bit of outlining, to a full color piece. So watching the colors appear, at least to the eye, is, it's the biggest difference, the most interesting part to look at.
I mean, I'll let people argue back and forth whether they like it or not. I personally, I'm not going to say it's good or I'm going to say it's bad speak for all people, but I will say that it is like visual ASMR for me. Like watching this happen is like...
Well, and apparently it is for a lot of people, and I've only learned that recently. And you're gonna say that's bullshit because
you're this year's old.
I was today years old. Yeah, no, but I mean, and I know you have said this, and of course I did listen to you because that's what I do. I ignore.
I like how you said had to listen to me, like.
But recently I've gotten some feedback in some of my videos where. I wouldn't even call it feedback. People would just say, "Oh, it's AI, blah blah blah," and you know the whole discussion. I've done several videos on that, and I'm tired of that now. So we'll skip that bit. But I will say that I've done this paper sketching and then digitizing it for a couple of videos now, and I am starting to like it. Also just the drawing on paper again. It's something that I haven't done. Like regularly, or at least for quite a period of time. I would just draw the sketch in Photoshop and then do the coloring. But since this project, so this whole Cataclysm art game that I've talked about in some of these earlier videos as well, but there is a purpose for these paper illustrations, like the paper originals. And for some reason, it just started to grow on me. And I'm really enjoying this whole sketching it on paper, shading it on paper, and then the rest of it just do it digitally. And it's some double work because, I do the values on paper and then I redo it again on a computer. But I don't know, it feels kind of nice.
Well, I mean, it does. It's I guess the best way to describing it is like in my limited art experience. I say limited. I still consider myself an artist, just not at the same caliber or scale. However, it is the repetition. It is, you're getting almost like it's like doing reps when you're working out. I'm sketching it here on paper. I'm resketching it here, and but it's just cementing the skill set and your ideas. So even when maybe you did something in the first round of the sketch and then in the next round where you're like basically like sketching to resketching to inking to coloring, you're just layer upon layer upon layer, and it's muscle memory. It's driving the skills home, but it's also like improving upon every time. It's tweaking every time. It's like maybe a little line here, maybe a little bit of line there, and then it's like it's trying to bring out the best version of you through like 6 iterations of the project. And that's one of the things I love about that kind of, it seems monotonous, but you get lost in the repetitions. Like anybody's into any kind of like sports or athleticism, like you get lost in the run, you get lost in the weightlift, you get lost in the thing. And art's the same way. You're still, this is an endeavor, this is something you're pushing out. And you get lost in the work. And then especially when I get like, it's almost guilty, like, hey, can I add a little bit more time to how can I add a little bit more time to this? Because I'm playing the thing that I love. So yeah, I get it. I completely get it.
Yeah, and I've also noticed that, whenever I work on a paper sketch, I think generally it looks fine. Like some of them are a little bit mangled in some places, and then you have the digital version to sort of, to readjust that. Like it's so much easier to pick up an outline in Photoshop than to erase the thing from paper. So it's exactly what you say. Like it's just another iteration where you just get to make it better. And I don't know. I think I've just been stubborn for a very long time, but it's been recent. It's a very recent development that I'm actually starting to enjoy this.
Well, I mean that's the thing. We're always growing as like say it's any art field, like the I guess from a neophyte's outside looking in kind of thing is like, how do they just do this? Because like again, watching the sketch happen, you're like, oh, this is how it happens, and it's like it's not you start from like blank thing to go straight to masterpiece. It is, again, it's layers, it is work, it is time, and you grow as a person, as an artist, as you're doing this. Like you fall in and out of love with different techniques, and like you said, you're really enjoying this process, and it makes total sense. The same thing in the writing world. Like there's some days you just don't want to write, or you're trying to find something new or funnier way or better way or a compelling way to get a concept across. So yeah, I'm always fascinated by watching like these videos, watching you work, and watching any talented artist work. Because even right now, like on what's on the screen, we have all these paint in these sections. But when I was a kid trying to learn how do I paint this, I was never taught sections. I always thought you just had to like just do it. I guess I did. My brain didn't put together how to like just just put it in there. And I said like these blobs, and then then it's like you feather it in. You go from blob, go from broad to defined.
And this is one of the things I actually got smacked in the face by. Also, like one of the recent videos, somebody said it's very amateur to work in these kind of segments, and I was like, well, okay, thank you. And yes, it is not something that you learn or something they teach you in schools, but it's just something that sort of happened as I started to develop as an artist. And the reason behind it for me was that it's easier to focus on where I begin, because like I think I told you many times, like I have this huge fear of the white canvas. I can sometimes stare at my screen for hours, and then it's the fear of commitment. Once you begin, you have to finish it, but oh my god, it's going to be so much work. But splitting this thing up into different segments, splitting up, start with the face, or start with the eyes and then the face, and then refine it. That's how I basically drag myself from start to finish. It has nothing to do with it technically being an efficient way of working, or it's not a technique necessarily. It's just something that I do to sort of keep the work maintainable for myself. And I'm very happy that it sort of inspires you and that you're like, oh, this is a way to do it. But I've been shot at for this several times.
I mean, I'm not going to call the person out by who they are,
no.
but what a just crap tag. I don't know if you swear in your videos. I'm gonna try to be polite about it.
No, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
What a shitty way of being. It's because I've seen. Okay, we've all scrolled through Facebook, TikTok, some form of social media, and you see an artist showing off their art. And sometimes you see like a finished piece. Sometimes you see a half finished piece, and like you see the sketch on like the right side, but the left side is just done and it's gorgeous, and you're like, oh wow, and so clearly that person is like doing it in sections as well. And every time I tried it, now as I was growing up trying to do art in my variety of styles, I love working with like pastel chalks and charcoals, for example, and I don't like. I try to do sections, but then I would let's say I get this one section done really nice, right? Then I have this paralyzing fear of like, well, what if I can't do this other side of the face as well? And so you get that like that horse that starts magnificent and ends up being a pencil sketch by the end of it meme.
Yes. That's
what I feel like I do because I can't match. So I just go with like, this is the outline layer, this is the soft tones layer, this is the dark layers, this is this layer. And I understand that's how some people prefer that capacity. If you have the ability to break off in sections, I think it just comes down to the brain of the artist. It has less to do with like professional, not professional. I feel like that person is just like trying to validate their own style by pushing you down, and to that effect, go fuck yourself. I mean, seriously, it's just it's art, man. Aside from calling out someone who's like trying to pass AI art as their own work, yeah, can call them out, but like trying to tell another artist that they're amateur or professional, you came here to be a dick, and the world's already shitty enough. So like, why don't you just not be that way? Why don't you be more encouraging? Be American, not Americant. So.
Even though that's pretty hard these days, but I got you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the world I prefer to live in. I mean, we have enough crap going on
course.
right now that I'm like, it's just, so again, if this person's here in the video, like, whoa, till this guy was bring it on, tough guy. Like, dude, don't start.
We're going to bring down my entire channel, through this discussion, but at least somebody's going to end up being right.
I don't like bullies. I don't like know-it-all assholes.
I don't think, I don't know, sometimes there's comments and I read them in the voice that's like mean, and this comment didn't read necessarily as mean, just as somebody who knew better.
Well, again, but
so
yeah, right. But I've watched enough painting videos of like masters and like it just comes down to the brain of the individual, like how they work, and it's like what's the finished product? What's their journey is making the product, and what is the finished product like? And is it pleasing? Is it unpleasing? It's how they get there. That's whatever, man.
It's the journey, not
yeah,
the,
right.
not
But
the destination.
Cliche as it is, 100%. I mean, I could go on and on about this because I don't care for people who just decide they're like, well, I'm going to tell you how to do it right or wrong. The irony is I'm a hypercritical asshole, and I am constantly telling people how to do their thing right or wrong, especially when it comes to the writing world. So I have no room to talk. My hypocrisy knows no bounds. To the person who made the comment, I apologize. Anyway.
All good. I doubt that person is even watching. I think this is just I'm going to drop a bomb and leave.
Maybe. I don't know.
So, well, whatever. We'll see. Yeah. You know what? If you're here, if you're watching, feel free to comment on this. But yeah, so good thing I actually prepared a couple of subjects that I wanted to talk about, right?
All right, yeah, let's get your
this
subjects.
was not one of them.
No, sorry.
But it was a good one.
We
not at all.
tended, yes.
Yeah. Usually whenever we talk, it just goes everywhere apart, except for the one part that we actually, were on the phone for.
Right.
But I do think it's interesting to dabble a little bit into storytelling, because you and I are both authors,
right?
And we both sort of work in the artistic hemispheres.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's fancy English. See, this is the kind of English that I speak when I write my shit down and not instead of improvising it. Anyway, I think if there's one thing you can take from that is that. Art and writing, just storytelling altogether, is basically just two sides of the same coin.
Yes.
You can tell a story through words, you can tell a story through images, and I think it's really freaking amazing if you can sort of combine them into one giant thing.
Yes.
And I don't know. I mean, we're looking at part of that. Like this is a very narrative sort of picture. There's a lot going on. We can tell a story just by even if you just had the face of the cat. There's something you can tell about it, and then you see there's dynamite. There's all kinds of stuff happening.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on this? Like, how do you approach art and storytelling? Do you pick them apart? Do you combine? Do you think they are one and the same thing? Like, what is it to you?
Well, I think I think all art tells a story to some capacity or another. That's kind of like why we're doing it. Commercial art, personal art, whatever. You're trying to tell a story. Sometimes you just want a pretty picture. Sometimes you just want a well-written poem. But I mean, let's say we'll take a piece of writing. You're trying to convey a thought. Maybe that you're telling a story. Maybe you're trying to convey an emotion. Maybe you're trying to persuade somebody. Maybe you're telling a humor or whatever. You're still trying to create a connection between the artist and the consumer or the person who's consuming said art. So it's in the writing world. It's like you're obviously trying to like I just said, you have an unlimited budget because it's your imagination. So and the writing and then when you're doing an illustration like this, you also have an unlimited budget. You can put as much in there as you want to make it, but is it the right amount kind of thing? So when you're looking at this a picture like this, it's telling a story because you want, when someone's looking at it like they what's the tone? What's the feels? What's the, is this a happy picture? Is it a sad picture? Is it a serious picture? What's like, has this cat seen clearly this cat is into he's like militaristic. It's like, there's bombs going on. It's a bombardier cat, and like, so conveying all that at a glance is kind of like the entire goal of doing a picture, on top of just making it the best thing possible. I always come at, like, you know, if I'm doing a piece of art, you know, like, I wanted to tell a story. I wanted to evoke something. Like, I mean, I always like evoke an emotion, evoke a feeling, evoke, you know, bring something other, because nothing's worse than you do something, go, that's nice. And then
the average 3-star review.
Right.
Yeah, we've talked about this a million times.
Right. Exactly. You know, and if nothing's worse than, like, that's nice.
There's nothing
you know,
to
like,
love,
oh,
and also
okay.
nothing to hate. It's just, it is.
Yes, it is. It is the vanilla ice cream of whatever, you know. Vanilla is good. It's, you know, but it's like, you know, it's you know, it's a tried and true, but it's not, you know.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
No, I got you. So how do you approach this when you?
I was gonna ask you the same thing. What do you feel when you come to this? When you come to a project like this, what is, like? Do you get your emotions in check first? Do you get, like, this is the tone I'm going for? Do you just kind of like just start drawing and let the happy accidents decide the feel? Like I was thinking this, but once I got into it, like, the pen and paper or the thing just kind of took me away and took me in another direction. So
It's a bit of both, I think. I start with a very clear image that I have in my head. And that's also very much the reason, like, when you go back to the sketching process at the beginning of this video, I don't do, like, the stick figures or, you know, the geometric setup of, you know, what I think it might be and then change. I have this idea and I will draw that idea. And then once that is done, through the coloring process, that's when the happy accidents happen. So in the beginning, everything is pretty rigid, and then, you know, once that part is done, that's where I allow myself to sort of the freedom to just roll with whatever happens.
That's cool. I sometimes that happens in when I'm writing something. Like, I have an intent, like, this piece, this let's say this book or this chapter is going to be, this is the mood I'm going for. It's going to be dark, or it's gritty, or it's going to be funny. And I start writing it, and then I'm like, nope. Something clearly, I was thinking one thing, and clearly something, this character, this other character made a joke, and now it's changed the tone, but now it feels better this way, it's happier this way. And you just got to go with what feels right, you know, as opposed to, like, now, that being said, that's always when I'm working for myself. If I'm working for somebody else and I have to, like, write something or do something with it, like, I don't get to have feelings. I have a job.
So, well, it's true. And I also think that when you're writing, I don't know, I'm less afraid to delete what I've written than, you know, to delete what I've drawn. So once something is on paper, I have this sort of obligation to myself to finish it. You know, even if I hate the piece, even if I don't like it, you will like it in the end. You know, you will come to like it as you go, or at least that's sort of what I try to tell myself every time. So it's, I don't know, and I think this also has to do with the whole segmenting things. You know, it's having that fear of finishing something that you're not sure you're gonna like, but then as you go, you create so many happy moments that you will start to like it. And in a very cheesy way, I think this is just trusting the process.
You kind of have to, you know, it is a bit of the trusting of the process. I have deleted feels like as many books as I've written, you know, like that's the thing. Cause like I in the beginning I wasn't like that. I'm like, oh, this turn of phrase is too good, or this is too good, I have to leave this in. Like, and I realized, no, if I wrote it once, I can write it again. If it's really good, I have a whole document of, like, just things that I wrote that I thought were cool, and I'll save it, and I just have I'll just go back.
Scene graveyard, yeah.
Yeah, scene graveyard, but I might repurpose them later. Because it's falling in love with your own stuff is cool, but is it the right thing? And that's why, and like we've talked in the past, like, how do you determine what's right, what's not right? You know, how do we determine what's of value, what's worth keeping? You know, and ultimately comes down to what's right for the project, and whether that's a art piece or writing piece. You know, like sometimes I'll look at something, I'm like, this is good, but can it be better? And then that's what the editor's self's like, okay, you only get so many passes where you have to stop. You have to just, you can't. Don't be afraid of finishing something.
I have to say, though, I really respect you for how good you are at self-editing. I wish I was that good.
I wish I was I wish I was more, okay. When I was younger in my career, I was dumber and more confident, and that's part of me wishes I was back there, just like blindly marching forward. I am writing well, you know, and like I wish I was back there again, as opposed to like, because here's the thing, because when I go back and reread me, I'm like, look how brave I was. It's stupid. You shouldn't have written that, you know, and that's clearly a sentence fragment, and like you thought you were going for style. Like, oh, you thought you were real edgy here, didn't you, buddy? You know, And that's the curse of whenever you reread or like even you could. I bet you could do the same. You go back to your old art and look at it and go, "Oh, what was I doing?" Like to anyone else, it's fine, but you see your mistakes. You see what you could have done better. You see how like I've gotten so much better at this technique, and like I wish I could just redo this. So
Yeah, and without trying to make this go really deep, but a couple of weeks ago, I watched an episode of a Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and they had this. We're taking a very big detour here, but it's relevant, I promise. He had this. Somebody asked him the question like, "Why don't you do this anymore?" And I think in his case it was about dancing, and he simply said, we should stop living in the past. Like that was something that I did back then, and it was amazing, but I stopped doing it to make space for something that I can do now. And I think if we see, I told you it was worth it. We pick this up and put it back into the art discussion that we're having. Is it really worth it to look back at our old art and then, should we do it again? Should we do it better? Should I remake this piece? I don't know if I would want to.
No, I would do it this way. I try to live in such a way of my own personal life. This is my own, like a kind of a personal philosophy, and like the numbers vacillate, so don't stick with them. It's not hard and fast, but it's kind of like a 60-20-20. 20% past, 20% future, 66% in the moment. Like a little bit of time to look back on what has done, so you can like, did I do it right? Did I do it wrong? What can I do better in the future? And then 20% in the future where you're saying, okay, these are the things that are coming. I need to prepare for them. But if you're always worried about the future, you're not living in the moment. So living in the moment, today's day, this job, this work, this life, this child, this wife, this husband, this whatever, that is that's your day, and that should be 60% of your thoughts. A little bit in the past, a little bit in the future, this much now. Now, that number, again, the 60-20-20, it vacillates and changes back and forth on the days, but that's what I try to live at. So looking back on old work is perfectly fine because, know your history, obviously. Know your history or you're doomed to repeat it, but be aware of the future, be aware of what's coming down the pike, things you have to work on, blah, 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 but don't be so future focused that you're paralyzed to live in the now. So
But then where do you, I wonder, when is the right time to then put an art piece out? Because, and I'm going to use a very personal example here. Okay. You've been working on some of your book covers for a while. Yep. And every time we look at them, it's been a couple of months since you've worked on them. And every time, every new iteration, there is something new, there's something different, because you looked at the old version and you saw something that could be better. So when do we stop looking at what we did before and say, well, now is a good time to push it out?
You know what? There never is the right answer. The answer for me happens to be, well, I've got a convention coming up in this summer that I'm going to be there with some of the other indie authors I work with on the side. So we're going to have a table. So I would like to have some fancier new covers to like look better than my friends. So that is like, so I have to have it done by this time so I can have them in print, so I can have them ordered and have them ready to go. So knowing that, like, that's my drop dead. I was literally working on, before we started this call, like it's funny you mentioned that, I was working on the one of the logos, the title logo, like little stinger at the top of the book, with the title series in my name and like a little thing. I just a newer way of like just can I make it that much better, So like
but sometimes circumstances just demand you to push something out. I mean, maybe that's just the takeaway. Like
it is. I mean,
you can reiterate all you want, but sometimes you just, the world just tells you to.
But also don't be afraid of not success, but like just being afraid of like just finishing a project, because sometimes while you're always working on it, it feels good because you're working on it. But it's also like, as long as I'm working on it, I don't have to share it, and I don't have to deal with the slings and arrows of critics or even fans. Like, I've put out books that like, they like this one series, fantastic. I try something different, like, oh, okay, but where's the series that we come to love? Like, oh, well, I would try something a little bit different this time. Do you like it? Like, well, where's the thing we like? I'm like, damn it. So even people that like your work can still like, well, it's okay. How many times have you listened to a band that you really like, and then their new album comes out, you're like, I don't like it. And
oh, you mean Sleep Token?
I mean, well, any band. I mean, like, sure with them, but I'm saying, but it's.
I know.
But it's a situation where you have to like listen to like, you have to listen to it like 9 times before you start to appreciate it, because it becomes familiar. Then, in the beginning, everything is just unfamiliar until you practice it. So it's not that I hate it; it's just unfamiliar, and then you have to listen. You have to consume it several times before you realize, is it good? Is it bad? Or am I just not liking it because it's unfamiliar?
It's true. So much wisdom in a single episode. Can you imagine? I had prepared another subject, but you know what? I actually think that we should save it and then do it for another episode if you're up for it.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me on, dude. Appreciate it.
Thanks. And in that case, I'll see you in the next one. And speaking of the next episode, first of all, let me start by thanking you so much for watching if you made it this far into the video. I really hope you enjoyed this little experiment of a new format, more of a podcast, I think it is. If you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments down below if you would like to hear Gib share his thoughts about art and about storytelling a little bit more than just in today's video. Again, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to support everything that I do from a little bit more up close, go ahead and check out my Patreon. It is linked down below in the description. See you in the next one, guys. Bye.